Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast. I'm Janey Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast, and thank you to everyone who commented on Instagram and Facebook after our interview last week on the show with the lovely Molly Millington, the happiness personal trainer. Thanks also to Sea Arch for supporting the show as well. And this week we have another collaboration. I've teamed up with Outfox Drinks for this show. So I'll be talking to the founder, the lovely Jessica Hook, about how she developed this cool brand of non-alcoholic wine. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. Very nice branding, and it's such a lovely, refreshing drink. And we've got a case of the white and the rosé to give away if you'd like to win some over at my website. That's imperfectlynatural.com. So you may as well have a go. Simple competition. Before that, though, I'm so thrilled that my guests this week are brothers Lee and Shaun from the brand Rok Soba. They're going to be at our event, by the way, on Monday, the 11th of March. So if you're listening to this in real time and you can get to London, if you still haven't grabbed your free ticket, there is still time. Just go to Eventbrite, type in My Yard. That's the charity who are organising this event. It's called Self-Care for the Sober Curious. It's going to be such a nice event, I hope. It's very new, it's very informal, but we've got just great people coming. Obviously, the guys from Rok Soba, also Claire Pooley, author of the Sober Diaries, is going to be speaking, and it will just be really nice, very informal way of meeting some of you. It's, as I say, it's all been organised by the charity My Yard, who are doing the Stay Dry Till July campaign with me. So we just really want to focus on this whole idea of self-care and little tips, whatever stage you're at, really. We'll have some vegan nibbles and some great alcohol-free drinks. And as I say, it is free, but you do have to grab your ticket, ideally, if you possibly can, because we don't know how many people are coming. So we want to be able to make sure we've got enough alcohol-free drinks there for you to try. So let me tell you a bit more about my guests this week and our podcast. Now, Rok Soba, the brothers are Lee and Shaun. They've been sober since 2014 in the case of Lee, and 2015 for Shaun. And then in 2017, they formed the brand Rok Soba, a brand to inspire. So they'll get into their story, of course, but it sure is one of those rock bottom ones, one of those tempestuous stories. They both lived the high life, basically. They worked in really stressful jobs in the city, in investment banking, and enjoyed the long lunches, the long liquid lunches, I should say, really till their mental health was in decline. And then their journeys came, as I say, to a rock bottom end. But I love their brand. I love Rok Soba, spelled R-O-K-S-O-B-A. It's an inspirational brand offering apparel and much more. I've got a very cool Rok Soba vest. I really like it. And they've got a great motto, face everything and rise, born, of course, from the acronym FEAR. So enjoy the interview. So I'm delighted that my guests are Lee and Shaun from Rok Soba, apparel brand, inspirational brand, Rok Soba. Hi, guys. Oh, it's so great to be able to talk to you. It's just great. It was lovely to interview you at the Mindful Drinking Festival. Got a great response there. We'll tell everybody all about your amazing clothing and more about the brand. But first of all, let's just find out a bit about you for anyone who's not who hasn't come across you guys before. You're brothers. I don't know who wants to start, but maybe one of you share a bit of your story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind starting. I'm Lee, co-founder of Rok Soba, 47 years old. Been sober now for, since October 14, so 4.25 years.
Wow.
Always really been a heavy drinker. Started working in the city at the age of 17. Really, the drinking culture up there was kind of immense, really.
Yeah.
So, always drank quite a lot. But to cut a very long story short, in June of 2014, the SHIT hit the fan, and we both hit rock bottom. At the end of that was basically it. We hit rock bottom. Mental health problems as well. exacerbated the situation, particularly, when we was under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah.
And really, really wasn't that good at all. So we got into a lot of trouble, both of us. It was then in October, this was in June 2014. In October 2014, I'd reached my limit and I'd reached my breaking point. And I just said, literally, enough is enough. I was out in town. I fell to my knees in tears and just said, I can't do this anymore. So the next day, on October the 14th, I said, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
It took Shaun a few more months after that for him to have his epiphany.
Yeah. One of you ended up in a prison cell at one point, didn't you? Which one was that?
We did on that evening in June. Yeah, right. We both did. Yeah, right. Well, I ended up in hospital first because I put my hand through a window and sliced all my hand open and this, that, and the other. It was an absolute horrible situation. It was kind of out of character for us, but that's the whole point of us trying to explain to people that it can happen in an instant. Yeah. These things can happen in an instant, and it's so scary that if you don't think you've got a problem, I mean, we were in denial for years, but it took something like this and something this bad, where the police were involved. We went to court. We nearly got sent to prison. It was horrific. Both lost their jobs, their houses. It's really just the message is to put it out there to people. Just be careful if you think you have an issue with drink. Try and address it before you hit that rock bottom, because absolutely. We were told so many times by our parents, by wives and girlfriends and everything else, like, Lee, Shaun, just calm down, you're drinking too much, you're going over the top. But we was in denial all of that time. No, we haven't got a problem, it's all fine. And then when this incident happened, the shit really hit the fan, and it was bad. It was bad.
And Shaun, just tell us about your background, because obviously you're brothers. And I know one thing I found out when I spoke with you at the Mindful Drinking Festival was that you've got really supportive parents. Because when we hear these kind of stories, you can't help but sort of assume, preconceived ideas. Oh, they probably had poor guys. They probably had a terrible upbringing then. But of course, that's actually not the case at all, is it, for you guys?
Totally the opposite.
Completely the opposite. I mean, both of us had such a happy childhood. Real, just a normal family life. Lovely. I guess, there were early signs of anxieties and, maybe a slight glimmer of depression from a very young age, I guess. I can remember I used to get bullied at school. That was one of the things that kind of, I think, set me back slightly. And maybe one of the things that's added to the sort of drinking compulsion that took over me, really. But, we had a lovely family life, but I think for me, it was, the alcoholism was as a result of a number of things. Maybe the anxiety, certainly the depression that came later on in life. But I was kind of, at the age of 16, I was thrown into the world of stockbroking. I didn't really know where I was heading. It wasn't really my choice. You kind of get, not pushed and shoved, but sort of advised by your parents that this is a great career and you'll have security and all the rest of it. And I just landed myself. I remember sitting down with my dad and he said, right, let's write to some banks, insurance companies. I got an interview with NatWest Stockbrokers and was offered the job, left the grammar school at the age of 16. And before I knew it, I was wearing a pinstripe suit, and I wasn't sure it was me because I always dreamed of being either a rock star or an artist or something, where I could maybe display a little bit of my creative side. And that sort of that life went on for about 30 years. And for the older ones amongst you, the only way I can describe the way I felt probably 10, 15 years into my career was like Mr. Ben, the guy that went into the tent, put on his pinstripe suit and bowler hat and pretended to be a city boy. Well, I managed to pretend that for 30 years, and it made me bitterly miserable. And I think I drank as an escape to that. Obviously, as you climb the ladder in the corporate world, more stress happens, more stress comes naturally. Then I was, married and had a couple of children, so even more stress, supporting the family. Yeah. And my drinking, rather than becoming a sort of, drinking at night time in a bar, it became a compulsion. I realised I was drinking all day in my job. I was a salesman, God forbid. My job involved taking fund managers out for long lunches in wine bars, So it kind of progressed, but then I was drinking at home more and more and more. And before you know it, I mean, there's no warning signs with alcoholism. You kind of think, what a life, I'm such a good party. Everything's, looking through rose-tinted spectacles, really. Until, as Lee said, we got into quite a few scrapes. I think the concoction of, antidepressants, alcohol, not great. We can only describe ourselves as Jekyll and Hyde. We was the life and soul of the party one minute, and the next thing, tables and chairs are flying all over the place, and we were getting ourselves in a lot of scrapes.
Yeah, so, it's interesting because we talk a lot about these various different grey areas, if you like, of drinking, and of course some people are kind of right at the top of that elevator, as it were, the high bottom people. We wish, and you guys actually did hit rock bottom. I mean, it's a shocking story when we hear it. But I'm guessing that your message now is very much to try and encourage people to have some thoughts about stopping drinking long before they hit that rock bottom. Do something sooner than you guys.
Yeah, that's one of our most important messages out there, really, from us, is to really make people aware. Try not to hit that rock bottom. You don't need to get there. You should. For us, it was. The epiphany was the only way for us, because if we hadn't have had it, we would have still been drinking now. But it is the worst possible way to learn. Don't wait for the epiphany. Avoid the epiphany. If that's the only way you're going to stop, great. Yeah. It was for us. And, I'm now 51, Lee's 47. Quite, we wished that maybe we would have been a little bit more considerate and mindful of the situation. Because it wasn't just the last few years we got into scrapes. There was many, but we got away with them for that long.
Sure. It's interesting, because one of the things that I want to do more than anything with this podcast is encourage people to recognize that life is so much better without alcohol, because when you're drinking, you cannot imagine that, because even just the phrase giving up drinking, actually, when you're further on down the line, and you're a lot further on than I am, you look back and you think, I haven't actually given anything up. Is everything I've gained, and for you guys particularly, what's amazing is that not only have you obviously you're well and you're happy now, but this has reinstated your creativity that you'd kind of almost lost sight of, and that's what's really exciting. So tell people how the whole idea for Rok Soba came about, which is an amazing fusion of your creative talents.
Yeah, well, Shaun will probably tell you a little bit more about it, but it sounds really quite corny, but he actually had a dream and a vision of Rok Soba, and he woke up, well, he'll probably explain more, he woke up basically early one morning and literally saw in lights the words Rok Soba, spelt how we spell it.
Yeah, just explain what that is for anyone who hasn't seen it written down yet.
So Rok Soba... Obviously, Rok Soba means that, we promote rocking sober. Yeah. But when I had this kind of vision, dream, whatever you want to call it, it was spelled ROKSOBA. And I thought that maybe they were thoughts that were in my head before, but I could almost like the brand All Saints, like their signage is in bright lights. Yeah. It was like that. And it was like, I just sat up in bed and thought, wow, wonder what this is all about. And then we met the next day for a coffee, and I told Bro about it, and we said, there it is, there's the sign, we've got to use it, we've got to do something. There's something. But
why clothing? How did the idea for the apparel come about?
It's not only just about clothing.
No, of course,
I mean, really, I think ultimately we wanted a brand that's very strong, very powerful, portrays a very, very powerful message. And we won't go into the whole detail of what our brand design means and signifies, but it's all on our website about the intricate design that we thought up and had done for us. We wanted specific designs and things within our design to be so powerful and meaningful for most people, not just us, but for people that are struggling with alcohol or maybe are thinking of giving up or stopping or whatever. So, when we both went sober, we were, I wouldn't say we were strong, hardcore rock and rollers, but we liked a good time. We liked our clothing. We liked to look edgy and different. And
when we got sober, I mean, certainly myself, and I'm sure Lee as well, but, you know, trawling the internet, looking for some inspiration. Who's sober out there? Yeah, you find Tom Hardy, you think, wow, Tom Hardy's sober. Okay, cool. That's good. That's a role model. But what brands are out there where they can display their sobriety, maybe not in an obvious way, but in a discreet way. But you can wear that clothing knowingly that you know what it means. But to the rest of the world, it's just a rock and roll T-shirt.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't spell Rok Soba the way that you should spell it, because we want that element of, oh, let's think about what these guys are about. There's a hidden message in there.
And we should mention your lovely symbol. I know you don't want to go into it in great detail, but you have got this gorgeous kind of Native American symbol. Just tell us just a little bit about what that means, because it's a beautiful story, actually.
Yeah, I mean, well, with the moth, I mean, the actual symbol of the moth is basically a sign of change. So, and moths are drawn to the light. So, you know, if you're in a dark place like we were when we was drinking, you know, you want to be drawn to the light. So the moth, you know, essentially guides you to that light and out of the darkness. And then you've got angel wings on there for protection.
Arrows for direction. So it's kind of all incorporated. To many, if you look at the design, you think it's a moth. If you look closely, the wings to the underneath of the moth are actually angel wings, and that's a representation of the support we had on our journey from our family. But hopingly that's the same kind of level of support everyone else out there is receiving. And the arrows that you see are, you know, really for direction. And I've got arrow tattoos all over the place, and it's kind of just to symbolise the journey we're on, really, and to share that with the world.
And arrows are pulled back as well before they're propelled forward. So, you know, you kind of you've got to go backwards first. You have to hit those blocks and those, you know, those hurdles before you can be propelled forward.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think that's really important. I know that you've both mentioned sort of anxiety and depression, and we hear so much about mental health issues and people suffering. Yeah. And of course, alcohol is, well, it's a depressant. I mean, it took me years to realise that. It's bizarre, isn't it? You know, you think we'd all be bright enough to know that, but bizarrely we don't. We think it's a fabulous relaxant and cheers us up, makes us really social. But of course, it's a depressant. And we know that the links between people with mental health issues and people who drink too much alcohol, you're absolutely intrinsic.
Absolutely.
In your case, you know, did you find? I mean, I'm not trying to suggest that immediately you give up. You stop. I'm going to stop saying give up, because you didn't give up anything. You choose not to drink. Immediately you choose not to drink. Does the mental health issues, they don't instantly go away, do they?
No.
But how did you find it? I mean, I'd be really interested to know what the path was for you there, because it would be great to be able to give hope, albeit realistically, to people who have these mental health issues, who feel at the moment that the alcohol is helping them, when actually we now know.
Well, with me, Janey, from the age of 15, I was diagnosed with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. So my main traits then were the washing of hands. So I was convinced that my hands would be contaminated with germs and bacteria, and that I would get some awful disease and I would be dead the next week. So I used to continuously wash my hands throughout the day, throughout the night, where they used to get red raw and bleed, where I used to wash them so often. I still have OCD, but it's in less of a crippling format now. It rears its head every single day. But I used to self-medicate, I think, to really alleviate all of those.
Yeah, to numb it down.
To really get rid of it. But of course, you're not getting rid of it. You're getting rid of it temporarily.
Yeah.
But then you're becoming more anxious, really, in the long term. You're becoming far more anxious.
And I can speak, sorry to interrupt, Janey, but I can speak on behalf of Lee, because I knew he self-medicated. He was in the bar on his third, fourth, fifth glass of white wine or vodka, and suddenly he might be calm 1 minute, and then I could see his eyes twitching. And at that point, I knew all hell was going to let loose. He was going to go off on one. And so, although it was alleviating his pain initially and numbing it, it was kind of compounding. Yeah. Every time we went out, you could just see it elevating through the night. So it wasn't the solution.
Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, Janey. I'd just like to say on that, I was medicating for mental health with antidepressants for 22, 23 years. When I stopped drinking, I was still on the antidepressants, but I stopped drinking. I didn't really feel a huge benefit until, I would say, and it isn't long, 3 or 4 weeks, I started to sense a little bit of clarity. Right. And I started to feel happy again. The only way I can describe it is like you start to love yourself again, because you're quite proud that you've reigned off of something that's potentially could have destroyed our lives, and not only our lives, but our family and loved ones. It was after 3 months that I thought, do you know what? I feel so bloody good now. I'm not sure whether these antidepressants are actually doing any good. So I decided to wean myself off the antidepressants. And bearing in mind, I've been drinking 30 years on antidepressants for 20 odd. Yeah. After 3 months, stopping the antidepressants gradually, I haven't had an antidepressant. I haven't needed antidepressants for 3 years, 6 months now. And I've been on antidepressants for a good, probably half of my life. Amazing. So without the alcohol, that was obviously making me feel down. I was always chasing that high. So I would drink to make myself feel better. I'd feel worse for a while, wake up with a rotten hangover maybe, or miserable. So I would reach for the bottle in the morning to get that high back. But all I was doing was chasing my tail. Without the alcohol, your mental state, I would say mine's escalated. And it's probably, I'm in the best mental frame of mind than I've been probably as long as I can remember, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is now, Janey, I mean, I still struggle on a day-to-day basis with OCD in slightly different forms to what they used to be. And like I said, they're not as crippling as they used to be. I still am on antidepressants. I wish I could come off of them, and maybe I will. But the point is, you know, drink or coming off of drink will help you massively without any shadow of a doubt. I mean, I once tried to take... it was a cry for help. I mean, I took an overdose of tablets on some vodka and this, that and the other because I just couldn't face things any longer. But I see it as a cry for help. I don't see it as... Maybe some people want to say, oh, you tried to take your own life or blah, blah, blah. I see it more as a real desperate cry for help.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what I'm hearing, I think, from you guys is none of us are saying that if you have mental health issues and anxiety issues, just by stopping drinking, everything's going to be perfect. It's not the world that we live in.
It's going to improve.
Exactly, because the drink, whatever the problems are, the drink exacerbates it. It doesn't matter what the problem is; it's going to make it worse. You know, it's really.
On the flip side of that, Janey, on the flip side of that, I mean, it isn't all roses, because I gave up drink, and I think it was after 2 years of sobriety, I started to get a swelling in my neck. And I was feeling really, really healthy, but feeling very tired. And I went to the GP and then found out that I had an overactive thyroid. Yeah. And the GP asked me, well, did I drink? And I said no, but I used to drink very heavily. And he said to me, not often, the body has kind of gone into a shock and your hormones don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. And I still suffer with that now. So it isn't a bed of roses, but I would rather be suffering with this because it's not harming anybody, and I can deal with it because I am straight and clean and sober. Yeah. But so I think, you may get some side effects from it, but don't worry about those because they're far more positive than the results of drinking too much.
I'd love to know what you guys would recommend for anyone who's inspired by this, and I think people are going to be really inspired by you guys. But you know, when you hear a rock bottom story like that and you see what you guys have created, it's amazing. What would you recommend someone starting out? What can they do first, or what would be your top tip, if you like, for someone who is at the stage where they know they want to stop drinking, but actually it feels terrifying? Because I think for most people it does. Their overriding feeling at the beginning is, I'm on my own. Well, we now know you're not. There's a whole world out there. That was one of the big shocks and amazing surprises for me. There's a whole world out there. It's amazing. So that you're not on your own. We know that. And we know that life can be better, although it doesn't feel that way at the beginning. But it does feel impossible to start with,
Yeah.
people, and it feels too hard. So what
Absolutely.
are your tips? And I know that everyone's different, but I'd love
absolutely. That's the one thing I was going to say. Everyone is completely different, and what we say, people might think, well, I don't like doing that, or I don't want to do that, or there's no way I can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we both tried to give up so many times over the years. I think my longest was 6 months.
We got really good at giving up because we did it loads of times.
But
well, actually, on that note, then, just before you even give me the top tip, then, what was the thing that made it stick? Was it just that it was just the rock bottomness of the experience, or what was different about your perception that made it stick the last time?
I think for me, and I'm sure Bro can say the same thing, it's that we wanted to stop. We wasn't told to stop. Because when people used to say to us, "You're drinking far too much," we'd say, "And?"
Yeah.
So what business is it of yours? We'd be in denial completely.
Yeah.
But when all of this mess happened, and it had been building up for a number of years, that for me was the ultimate, like, right, now it's enough. Now you need to want to give up yourself. If your wife or your husband or family is saying to you, "Oh, look, you've got to give up," I used to get, what's the word? Not kind of resentful. Like, so you just think, you know what? I don't care what you say. I'm just going to drink because I haven't got a problem. I'm fine. So, and I think when you first give up, I mean, for me, when I stopped in October 2014, my mental state was I was in a complete mess, to be honest with you. I'd lost my job, a good job in the city. I was contracting, and that ended. I was kind of a recluse for about 3 months until January, and then I just felt this urge to just try and get myself out of this rut because I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't doing anything, and I basically took up something that I'd always been very interested in, but really not got round to doing much about it because of work life, drinking life, this, that and the other, was photography. So I took up photography, something creative, something that I could go out and I could, see different people, and it was mainly street photography. So it's very about real life and how people are and how they look, and you're trying to read people in their situation and take really meaningful, like, deep pictures of people and their everyday life. So I found photography extremely helpful. And since then, self-published like a few photography books, which I'm proud of. I mean, with OCD, trying to self-publish a photography book, trust me, it is an absolute stress like you'd never believe. Yeah. Making sure that everything's right and blah, blah, blah. But I did it. I got through it. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. Not to anyone else. I wanted to prove to myself that, I could do my photography. I could take some good pictures, which is what I did. And
so
then,
in a way, what you're saying, it was almost you had some belief in yourself. Then we come back to that same thing of one thing the podcast talks about all the while is this sort of self-care and self-love and self-compassion. And by challenging yourself, giving you that amazing challenge, you got some belief in yourself, which was.
It's quite tough to get into. It's quite tough though when you first give up. It's quite tough to get into that mindset.
Of course.
Because after what had happened to us, I in particular, and probably Shaun as well, just felt completely, I don't know, just the lowest of the low, basically, because we couldn't quite understand or comprehend what had happened to us and, what we'd done and this, that and the other, and what the consequences were going to be. I mean, we didn't go to court for 2 years after the event, so we had to deal with all of the court proceedings. Like for 2 years before it even went to court, and it was potentially going to go to trial, and we were told that we could potentially get sent down.
And we were sober at this time.
And we were sober,
that was a challenge.
That was a challenge to try and cope with that.
So would you say then that you would? I mean, what would be your self-care tip, if you like, or your top tip for people? Would it be to just find something that lifts your spirits, that makes you I don't know, makes the time pass quickly?
Take time out for yourself. Take time out for yourself.
Maya, my advice really there, and I struggle because we were both social people. We were both in jobs that was, lunch breaks were social, down the pub, evening social. So it feels like you've had your arms cut off when you stop drinking, because you think, I can't be socially accepted anymore. So we both, obviously, Lee went to do photography and probably was a bit more of a recluse, because that was how Lee dealt with his side of it. But for me, I knew that I liked pubs because I liked the social aspects of pubs. And it's only really in the last year that I've been able to return to the pub and proudly drink my alcohol-free drink, or, whatever it is I drink, but it certainly isn't alcohol. Yeah. But back in the day, sort of, first thing I did, 1 month in, I actually invested in myself and bought myself a mountain bike. And I thought, because I'd lost my driving licence due to drink driving, I thought, no, nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to buy myself a bike. I'm going to get myself fit. I'm going to ride to the local cafe every day. I was out of work at the time, and I started to really enjoy the cafe culture. I loved it. So it's kind of, not a public house, but it wasn't too long before I realised these are normal people in here. They're not stumbling out the door. There's no fights. This is like proper chilled out, nice music. Sit there, getting inspiration on my phone. I was always looking at ways to inspire myself, and coffee became a passion for me. And at the time, I was kind of out of a job, been made redundant in the software sales industry, which kind of stemmed from my banking industry. And I just thought, I don't want to do banking ever again. So then I went and got my hands tattooed and decided that if I got my hands tattooed, no one in the city would ever employ me. So one of those to the city, because I knew if I go back to that job, I'm going to be straight back down the pub. Yeah. But I thought, I love the cafe life. I'm enjoying my cycling. And then what I decided to do was I did a little course in London with a friend of mine, an old schoolmate, and we both learned to be baristas. I learned to make coffee.
Oh, there's a skill. Wow.
Yeah. Cool. And then before I knew it, I was running a little sort of coffee truck at festivals, making coffee, doing what I enjoyed, mixing with nice people, and from then on, here we are.
So I hear you completely, and you now both of you are doing what you love, and it's great. So we're almost out of time, but so just tell us where we can find you guys, the website. And maybe just a little insight as to, tell us what your products are, or a couple of things you might want to feature on, and maybe feature.
You can find us on. The website is roksoba.rocks. So that's ROKSOBA.rocks, ROCKS. At the moment, we sell t-shirts. We've got vests. We've got our jewellery that we sell as well. Just things to really sort of help you on your journey. If it gives you inspiration, that's really what we want to do. We're injecting inspiration into our gear to try and help people out there. But we don't just want to limit it to clothing and jewellery. We've got lots of things in the pipeline this year in particular, which are, this month alone has just been ridiculously crazy on people coming to us, asking us to do things. And we're starting to sort of having to prioritise these things, because it is getting quite. It's brilliant, but we've got to keep our feet on the ground. We've got to take one
self-care.
Absolutely,
you really
absolutely.
Have.
Yeah. We don't want to get back on the stressful.
Burnt out.
Before. Yeah. But cool. One thing we've got brewing up, if you excuse the pun, is. A collaboration with the beer company where we want to release our very own Rok Soba beer.
Very exciting.
So that's going to be, hopefully, nothing's kind of sealed 100% yet, which is why we can't really mention any names or anything. It wouldn't be fair. But that hopefully will be available soon. There's some festivals, like there's a mental health festival that we hopefully will be involved in.
Great.
And there's some really key players as well, some key names out there that we're hoping to work with in the future.
Cool. Sounds amazing. We're out of time, sadly. I could talk to you guys forever. But Lee and Shaun from Rok Soba, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you.
No problem. Speak to you again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Janey.
So inspirational. Really looking forward to having Lee and Shaun speak at our event on Monday at the Self-Care for the Sober Curious event. And as they said there, Rok Soba's branding it's really bold, it's really badass, as they say, but also it's really thought-provoking and really intricate, and it carries these significant meanings and messages. And we touched a little bit there in the interview about their logo, which has moths, amongst other things, representing darkness, light and transformation. So just to make it absolutely clear, they have this premium line of clothing and accessories, and they've basically put rock and roll back into sobriety. There's also bespoke jewellery, and there's everyday items such as leather key fobs and mugs, which is just really nice kind of empowering little reminders to help reassure you along the way. And I think also we can really sense from what Lee and Shaun had to say there that Rok Soba isn't really just about selling you goods and making a profit. They're really driven by their passion to help other people. And for every item sold online, a percentage is donated to the Prince's Trust, because they're really committed to working with young people. And they touched on it there, but they've got massive ambitions as well for the future, with plans to release their own alcohol-free drinks range. So that would be really interesting. And run charitable festivals and all sorts of events that promote a sober but still, as they say, badass lifestyle. And their ultimate goal is to open that Rok Soba recovery centre where people can come and relax and be inspired. So a totally inspirational brand. And here's another one I promised for this show. That I was teaming up with Outfox drinks. Now we've spoken a lot on the podcast about great alcohol-free alternatives, because one thing we know for sure is that we definitely don't want to just drink the Coke and the lemonade. And Outfox is this really great range of premium non-alcoholic wine alternatives, because actually that can be one of the hardest things, is to find, if you were a wine drinker and you do want something to replace your nice glass of wine, it can be a bit tricky. Some people find that they start drinking beer, but that definitely didn't work for me. I've never liked the taste of beer. And of course there's lots of great botanicals and spirits, but the wine can be a little harder to do, but they have absolutely managed it. They were the official non-alcoholic wine partners for Dry January. Well, they still are. And the blurb for Outfox, what they say on the tin, as it were, is that it's expertly crafted from a mix of French and Italian grapes, spring water, and notes of Sauvignon, but basically it tastes great. It's vegan as well, really important to stress that, and gluten-free, and it's quite dry, quite a crisp, clean taste. So you can have it on your own, or you can have it with food. So let's speak with Jessica.
Jessica, thanks ever so much for joining us, and tell us a bit about your background, because you've worked in the kind of food and drink sector for a while before becoming the founder of Outfox.
Yes, I've worked in kind of food and drink since uni, really, which is kind of 11 plus years ago. So across kind of an array of different brands, from kind of bigger businesses like Kraft Foods through to kind of smaller startups like One Water, and most recently kind of my previous role before starting this business was with Vita Coco, the coconut water company. So I've always kind of had my hand in the game with the drinks industry, and definitely could see some of the trends happening in terms of people making healthier choices, being more aware of sugar content in drinks, and obviously the rise in people wanting to drink less or have low alcohol alternatives.
Yeah. Tell us what happened for you then, because I think I'm right in saying you were training for the marathon, or are training for the marathon again, and wanted to not drink as much.
Yeah, I actually I stopped drinking for about 6 months. I kind of previously, I'm kind of all through my 20s, I'd been quite a big drinker. I loved wine, and I would tend to be always up for sharing a bottle with a friend, the first one to the bar, kind of the last to leave at a party. So kind of always really enjoyed the social element of kind of going out and drinking and everything that was kind of involved in that culture. And I had on my bucket list to run a race, which was the Marathon des Sables, it's kind of an ultra race across the Sahara Desert.
Wow.
So you basically, it's across 6 days and you cover about 150 miles. So it's about a marathon a day, apart from in the middle where they like to put a nice double marathon in. And you're self-sufficient, so you're sleeping in tents in camps each night. You're carrying all your own food, all your own equipment. Your water's rationed. So it's quite hardcore. And I previously wasn't a runner. I used to run cross country at school, but never to kind of anything near that extent, or kind of through my 20s, I maybe did a couple of half marathons. So it was really kind of going from zero to needing to be quite fit quite quickly, because I got a last minute place that became available. So I had about 6 months, and I just knew that I couldn't continue going out drinking and be able to do the training, get the fitness, and lose the amount of weight that I needed to kind of give myself a fair shot of completing the race.
Yeah. And I know that at that time you found, as so many of us do, that, you know, when we decide not to drink, that there's at that time anyway, such limited choice of decent alcohol-free options out there. And I'm guessing that's what got you thinking.
Exactly. Like the choices, sometimes you can go to, especially I find with kind of evening events, where it's been catered in a venue, just you go and have a reception and there'll be champagne or cocktails and you'll be given like a jug of water.
Yeah.
And
or warm orange juice is the classic,
exactly.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's just, you kind of think it's incredible, like out of the drinks industry, and like there's so many incredible like cocktails and alcoholic choices, and even in soft drinks, there's so many kind of great choices in so many drinks categories. And kind of for this kind of gap between, I suppose, what would be a soft drink and kind of getting towards an alcoholic drink, there was this wide open space which no one was really catering for at that time kind of very well, or to the masses. And so that definitely inspired kind of the creation of Outfox, and I just kind of wanted to do my bit to help make, when people decide to dry drink, that it's just a little bit easier and there's a few better options.
So tell us all about the drink then. I mean, we should say to start with, I mean, the name is fabulous. You have to tell us about the name. You've got funky logo. The packaging is absolutely lovely. It just looks like a really funky, cool brand. So I love that. So tell us, you know, about the idea for the name, for the branding, and you know, describe what the drink is.
Yeah, great. So for me, kind of from a personal level, my drink of choice always was sharing a bottle of wine. And so I think that led me first off with Outfox of actually, if you want that same experience but you don't want the alcohol, the choices are very, very limited. And historically, some of the de-alkalized wines on the market that you can kind of buy from a supermarket tend to be really sweet, and just quite difficult to drink if you're used to drinking kind of dry wine. And it just kind of got me thinking, and I just thought there must be a way to make a better solution. So that was kind of my starting point, and I thought kind of probably very naively, there must be kind of a nice de-alkalized wine existing somewhere that would kind of fit the bill. I just need to find it. And kind of searched high and low, and I just at that time just couldn't find anything that was kind of close to what I'd like to drink on a regular basis without the alcohol. So I started then the development of Outfox. So we tackled it slightly differently. So it's really difficult de-alkalizing wine. Effectively, you're heating off the alcohol, which really kind of unbalances the wine. and quite often you'll have to add extra stuff so that it brings some of those kind of funny aftertastes or the really kind of sweet taste that you get with some of them. So with Outfox, we tackled it slightly differently. So it's a blend of French and Italian grapes. They're fermented, but it's a different type of fermentation. So it's not produced alcohol as a byproduct, which means so it's never been alcoholic. So we've never had to kind of heat treat it further to remove alcohol from it.
Right.
With that grape base, we blend it with spring water and natural flavourings, including some top notes of Sauvignon and some of those kind of familiar aromas and tastes that you get with some of your favourite wines, just to try and create something that is a nice wine alternative that you can have in a nice chilled wine glass that's crisp, light, drinkable. Without Fox, it's like quarter of the calories.
Is it? Wow.
Regular wine, and it's half the sugar of a tonic water. So it kind of hits those marks in terms of something that actually you can keep drinking and join rounds with your friends, and not worry about kind of how much sugar you're having, with kind of lots of the options that are available now. So it was kind of important to me that we kind of kept that low calorie, low sugar, but ultimately just kept the experience of kind of having something that feels closer to an alcoholic drink.
It's also vegan and gluten-free, isn't it? Which is really important.
It is, completely vegan, gluten-free, sulfite-free.
Yeah. And tell us about the name then and the branding.
So the name, it kind of all stemmed around kind of outfoxing alcohol. And outfoxing those hangovers. We just thought it kind of was a name that could really suit what we were trying to achieve as a brand.
It's great. I love it. Excellent. And just tell us a little bit about your partnership with Alcohol Change UK, because that's fantastic for you, isn't it, to be able to partner with a leading charity around alcohol awareness?
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. We started the partnership at the beginning of this year. So for kind of people who don't know, Alcohol Change UK is effectively the charity that's behind the Dry January campaign. And so we joined in forces with them to do a partnership throughout the course of this year. So kind of kicked that off really nicely with the Dry January campaign, where we were able to be kind of the official non-alcoholic wine of Dry January. Yeah,
that's great, isn't it? Really great. So what are your plans? What are your plans for the future then? Do you have plans for any other drinks? Is the range going to expand at all?
Hopefully, yes. I am actually at a meeting tomorrow to go and to taste some of the bits, some new recipes for some potential new products. I think for this space too, and definitely kind of my ethos behind Outfox is we've launched our first two products, which are kind of a white and a rosé style wine drink. I think as kind of technologies improve, there's definitely going to be ways that we can kind of make drinks better. And so for me, Outfox will be a continuously improving recipe, even kind of down to our core lines. But we've definitely had a few requests coming our way for potentially a red, and also looking down kind of Prosecco and Champagne alternative routes. So there's a few things in the works at the moment. So hopefully you'll start seeing a few new things from us over the course of this year.
Great. So we'll watch this space. Jessica Hook from Outfox, thank you so much. The website is outfoxdrinks.com. Jessica, thank you.
Thank you so much.
So check out Outfox Drinks. And my self-care tip this week, I want to pick up on something that we spoke about a little bit in last week's episode with personal trainer Molly Millington. She was talking about yard games. One of her 52 weekend challenges is for you to get out in your yard and play. But really, I'm just thinking about the importance of having fun, because it occurred to me that when I was drinking, my whole life, certainly my whole social life, revolved around where I would next go for a drink. You know, it's bizarre, really. If we were planning to go somewhere, I'd always be trying to work out, well, where will we stop and have a drink first? Really, I didn't make time for anything else. And once that's taken out of the equation, it's really interesting. People sometimes find there's a gaping hole where you've got time for other stuff and you feel as though you can't go out and have fun. But of course, the reminder, if you like, the self-care tip is that you can go and have fun. You absolutely can still go out and you can still have fun. And that doesn't have to mean a bar or a restaurant or a club. And it also doesn't have to be expensive. It can literally be, as Molly suggests, playing games in your garden, especially if you have kids. That's a great excuse. Or heading off to a bowling alley or hiring a bike for the day. The important bit is to do something fun and maybe do something different, even if it's a little bit out of your comfort zone. And it goes without saying, while I'm saying this to you and pointing a few fingers at you, I'm pointing a thumb back at myself. So I'll keep you posted. Coming up in the next few weeks on the podcast, I've got an interview lined up with Kitty Waters on doing your Dharma, on finding your purpose. Also, the lovely Belle from Tired of Thinking About Drinking. And just to prove that I'm not only in with the oldies, I'm bringing you a chat with Millie Gooch, who is a Gen Z soberista who runs Sober Girl Society. So follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. It's at Janey Lee Grace. Use the hashtag Stay Dry Till July, because we're just using that to gather your self-care tips. We've still got some great prizes to give away. Don't forget there's those drinks as well, those alcohol-free drinks over at imperfectlynatural.com that you can win. And we would love to hear your stories. You can email me, janey@janeyleegrace.com, and we would still love it if you would be willing to subscribe on iTunes, rate the show, leave us a nice review, tell your friends. I'll see some of you on Monday at Self-Care for the Sober Curious, and I'll see hopefully all of you next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast with Janey Lee Grace. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, rate us, share on social media, and tune in again.